Hello, this is Mark Sobowitz with the Clarion Voice. And today we are pleased to have as our guest Amy Goff, who is a pastoral counselor in the local area. And Amy, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate your being here.
Thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. Now, first of all, from your observation as far as the mental health aspects of the pandemic, what do you see as like the major problems that seem to have come up?
The two major phone calls that I'm getting are about the isolation and the financial instability.
Okay, and so does that what kind of issues does that come of those things? I mean, does it create more of a psychological problem, or it just depends on the individual situation?
It certainly depends on the individual, right? Everybody has their own way of coping with their anxiety, their fear. A lot of what we've been working on with those that I'm speaking with is that self-care piece, finding ways to be kind to yourself. You can't, it's that whole oxygen mask on the airplane, right? You can't help everybody else if you're not taking care of yourself first. So, just trying to help them identify, are there things that they can do to take some proactive steps? And then just focusing on that self-care.
Do you find that people that hear what you're saying are doing that and that they're getting better as a result, or
Yes, in general, when we've got, the peace of the Lord, and we're finding ways to make sure we're keeping that relationship, tight. It's a little easier then to also, find your exercise, find your faith-based community, find somebody that you can trust with the way that you're feeling.
are you getting any referrals from the local churches as far as people that the ministers can't handle? Are you getting referrals from the churches to you for specific problems?
I am not. The referrals that I'm getting are word of mouth from other clients. But I am in touch with some of the other counselors in the area, clinical counselors in the area, and they are getting a lot of referrals. Something that we've talked about is how the mental health needs are far greater right now, and a lot of that comes down again to that isolation. But finding providers to help navigate that is much more difficult because of the isolation.
Because they're limited to in-person contact?
Some counselors are suspending all new clients because they're not having the opportunity to. Now, of course, we've changed tiers, so that might start switching up for us, which would be wonderful. But they're not doing the one-on-one intakes, and that's so important when you're meeting someone for the first time. All those sort of what we call attending skills. What are you saying? What are you not saying? What is your body saying? What is your body not saying? So many of the clinical counselors are up until now have not been taking on new clients.
Do you find that your colleagues, in the profession, are finding that they're not as effective because they can't have in-person contact, or are they finding ways around that through, like Zoom meetings or things like that?
It's a little bit of both. The people who already have an established, trusted helping relationship with someone, the phone calls are working, FaceTime is working. And again, it depends on the individual relationship between the counselor and the client.
Okay.
They're finding ways. And as long as they don't feel like they're alone in general, because none of us wants to feel alone, right?
Right.
Ever.
Exactly.
It seems to be very helpful.
We were talking earlier before we started the interview about the fact that there are a lot of mental health professionals that are having difficulty finding opportunities for work. Why do you think that is? Is it just because of the nature of the economy, or is it something else? Because as you said earlier, mental health issues are far more important nowadays than they ever have been. So I'm just wondering why there is such a problem in getting qualified people to be working, more effectively.
I don't think it's so much that we're having a difficult time finding qualified people. I think they are simply overrun.
Oh, I
And
see.
with the economic issues that are affecting so many people with the pandemic, the joblessness, people are losing their insurance. How are they going to pay for some of the clinical counselors? The county programs have a very limited number of mental health professionals available to them.
Now, we had an opportunity to interview Aurora William, who is one of the leaders of Hope and Faith, which is a group that deals with the homeless problem in Pastoral in particular. And she mentioned something that was very striking last week, and she said that there is a great need for more mental health professionals or people that are involved with that to interact with the homeless. Why do you think that maybe they're not? Because it doesn't. It seems like there's a big gap as far as that goes.
The counselors are trained in this unconditional positive regard. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, any financial divide, cultural divide, if you're unhomed or not. Those things are not supposed to matter. But I think occasionally they do to some providers. And I think as well, it goes back to the economic issue. There's no funding to help support some of these counselors who are, run the potential of giving up, billable hours because they still need to, run their homes too. And I think it's there's a secondhand problem in that not all of those who are experiencing homelessness are interested in counseling support.
Okay. Would the mental health professionals would they be willing to volunteer, their time a little bit in order to interact more so? Because the mental health aspects of the homeless issue is paramount, in part of what's causing these issues. Granted, not every person that's homeless is going to want help, but would they be, would your colleagues be willing to volunteer at least to give somebody a sense of help?
I can't speak for anybody else, Mark. I can't. You would hope so. You would hope that there are those who would be willing to put some little extra time on the line. Certainly part of the compassion we're supposed to be demonstrating as a church is, to be reaching out, to be doing what we can for who we can, counseling them, taking them some groceries, whatever that might look like. But I can't speak to why there are those who are uncomfortable doing that.
Now, what would you suggest to a person who's experiencing difficulties like the isolation or the financial insecurities? How would somebody go about finding someone that would be able to help them professionally? Is there some source that they can use in order to, for contact?
My first question to folks when they call me or if they're asking me because they want to help their neighbor is there a faith-based community already available to them? Do they have a church? Do they have a Bible study? Do they have someone within their faith-based community that they can talk to at all with their feelings? What does that look like with their concerns? Because as we've talked about before, Mark, is sometimes somebody just needs to know that they're heard. Sometimes that's enough. And if that's not the case, then then it becomes a slightly more difficult question of what providers are currently accepting new clients. Do they have a sliding fee scale? Or if you still have some type of insurance in place, who accepts your insurance? Now, I have not investigated this myself, but I have heard that county mental health out of Atascadero will help people find providers. And again, I haven't investigated that myself, but if it's true, that would be a boon.
Now, considering the overwhelming nature of people's difficulties these days, do you see that some of your colleagues are experiencing burnout, so to speak?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Many of my colleagues are also coming from faith-based communities themselves, and we, want to help. We want to be all things to all people, right? It's part of the call. And it's very easy to give more than we have. And that's why I referenced early on that self-care piece, that oxygen mask piece. And part of that self-care, whatever that looks like for you. Is it, an extra sermon on a podcast or an extra walk, whatever that might look like. But remembering that when we're doing that self-care, we're modeling that for the people watching us, our children who are equally afraid, our neighbors and friends that are seeking support from us. And so sometimes that no, or, I can't take your call right now, or, I'd love to catch up with you. Can we do it at a different time? Those boundaries, those simple boundaries can be enough for that self-care to help with the burnout issue.
Okay. You just mentioned something about children, being affected. What have you seen as far as the effect on younger children during this time? Anything stand out in particular?
Yes. First and foremost, it is that isolation piece. The public school has been such a huge component of American culture for children, and we don't. And of course, this is a whole different soapbox another time, but the electronics getting in the way of going out and riding your bikes, those types of things. And now they're being encouraged to, school is on Zoom, and it's taking a toll on their social skills, on the levels of children's anxiety and fear. And when they see mom and dad are concerned too, or grandma or auntie, whoever their family of origin is in their lives, when they see those caregivers experiencing anxiety and fear, it adds to it for them. And so again, as far as trying to, help them navigate it, we're going to be okay. It's okay to say that. We're in a tough time right now. We're working on it. You don't have to worry about this, and just listening, just being present and listening to what it is they're saying, and trying to provide ways for them to have some type of outlets. And again, of course, we're starting to open up. We're starting to see more things happen. We're starting to see some returns to school, and I think that's going to help a lot. I don't think that there's been a lot of talk about sort of a lost generation and how are they going to make up the ground they're losing socially. And I think we're going to be okay.
Very good. Now, just to make sure that people that are watching this video know where they can turn, you would recommend that a person call the county mental health program for the county to begin with?
Yes, that's always an okay start. That's always a good start. They have wonderful providers. They've got their education and their compassion, and also again their faith-based community. Is there someone in their church, their Bible study, their women's group, their mom's group, their dad's group? Is there any one person that could sort of that they would trust to sort of buddy up with, as far as that I'm having a hard day today, and an accountability partner for that extra walk, for that, whatever that self-care piece looks like.
Okay. Well, Amy, thank you so much for all your insights into the mental health issues that we're dealing with today with the pandemic. And if you like this video, share it with someone, because we all have to deal with those issues within our family, within our church, and so it's important to hear someone who's a professional talk about the encouragement that you can get from going through a faith-based community. And also, if you would also like and share this or like and subscribe this video, we'd appreciate it. And until next time, this is Mark Sobowitz with the Clarion Voice.